Again, my name's Joe Lombardo. I'm from the University of Nevada, Las Vegas, and we actually have a National Supercomputing Center that was created by Congress back in the early 90s. There are people in this room that were actually there and played a role in it, and it's always nice to see how long people last in HPC. But anyway, my topic today, although it's not really leveraging HPC for Alzheimer's research, it has to do with supporting this kind of research. This is one of our most important projects, and we have found recently that basically collaborating and working with industry, a public-private kind of collaboration has really, really worked out for us. And I'm going to give some examples. Okay. So we were established in '91. Right now, Alzheimer's is big, even though you see by my title in your flyer that it's energy in the environment. We do support energy in the environment, but that name has been dropped. So we are becoming the National Supercomputing Institute. And under that, we have a new medical school that's coming aboard, and what we will be doing is a lot of data analytics as it relates to medicine. The Alzheimer's project here is actually a fairly large NIH grant that we're working on right now. It's about 11.5 million, and our partner in that is the Cleveland Clinic. So the Cleveland Clinic is actually open. As most of you know, the Cleveland Clinic is cardiac and a little cancer, but this is their first hospital in neuro. So we're dealing with Alzheimer's and Parkinson's and whatnot. And although, when I first got involved in this, we agreed to help Jeff Cummings, who's running the hospital, out in this project, it wasn't really an HPC problem. It wasn't even close to it. It was clinical trials. But we moved into genotyping really, really fast. So they're actually taking a different path with this research, and it has almost instantly turned into an HPC issue. We also have created recently in the last year an Institute for Personalized Medicine, and that's also a big part of this too. So we've brought on a lot of new faculty, new postdocs, new graduate students. As you can see in here, one of the concepts here is, or my idea today is to tell you about our industry partners and what they've done for us. Two of them are actually sponsoring this event, and that's Altair and Intel. Obviously, we're a full-service supercomputing facility. We have a mission for excellence in this area. We provide supercomputing training and services to academic and research institutions. And in a sense, one foot is in the federal side, the other foot is actually the academic side. We still do, even though we're dropping the term, we still support energy and environment. And right now we're serving the University of Nevada system. One of our new industry partners is a company named Switch. Switch owns and builds some of the largest data centers in the world now. How many people here have ever heard of Switch? Okay, so quite a few of you. What happened is we actually put out a proposal to Intel a year and a half ago to go after a machine named Cherry Creek. Cherry Creek was actually built in 2013 to basically prove that HPC could be green. And Cherry Creek achieved 40 on the green list, so they did a real good job. Right after Intel went through that exercise, they decided they wanted the machine to be actually used for something of value. As you know, you heard this morning from a number of people, oftentimes companies are running nothing but benchmarks with their big machines to stay on the 500 list. I mean, that's what the machines are primarily used for. So Intel basically put out a call for proposals to see what we could do with Cherry Creek, and we came up with the idea of the genetics and well, the genomes and the proteomic side of it to study some of these diseases, and they liked it. The problem is Intel wanted to go from day one, the machine was an 8,000 core machine, which wasn't a problem for me at my data center. But Intel informed me we were going to 16,000 and then 26,000 quickly. And I didn't know how fast quick was, but it was really quick. It happened in less than 6 months. So I decided, I gave Switch a call, and I've known Rob Lloyd, who's the founder and owner of it. And I gave him a call and I said, can you help me out? Because I need data center space, I need power, I need cooling, I need the ability to scale real fast. I would never be able to do that at the university, so Rob said he would help us out, get us a home. And one of the exercises with Switch right now is to try to evaluate what this co-location thing is all about. We heard it this morning about the opportunity to co-locate. Is it good? Is it bad? Is it expensive? Is it cheap? For me, it worked out perfectly because at the university, even though we're in any university, there. The top picture up there is our new science and engineering building, and that's where the Supercomputing Center is located. And it's a new building, it's 3 years old, but we could not have handled a 16,000 core Cherry Creek with whatever else we had in there, which was 2 arrays and some other clusters that we're running. So this picture below it is my site at Switch, and that's approximately 60 cabinets. And so right now what we're doing is, although this is a donation from Switch, as far as the cost of power, networking, anything associated with it, cooling, security, we actually get a bill. It's zeroed out every month. But I actually know what it would cost me if I was paying that amount. So what we're doing is we're going to, for the next 2 years, we are actually going to be there. We're going to try to find out if co-location is really the answer. I can tell you right now, I really like it as a director. We've had 4 major power outages at the university since we moved Cherry Creek to Switch. And although we have a UPS system, the UPS system is only good between an hour and an hour and a half. Some of our outages at the university have been 12 hours, which is catastrophic to some of our researchers. At Switch, we see no downtime. Now, there's a caveat with the Switch side, and the caveat is it's 5 miles away. And as you know, as researchers in HPC, you want your data as close to the cores as you can get them. So we wound up building a dedicated DMZ network out from the university side out to Switch. We lit that up at 20 gigabits on day 1, and it was good, not great, good. But what followed was a conversation with Cisco. So my third industry partner moved in and said, what are you doing? And then they decided they wanted to help out too. So they took care of purchasing and donating gear that, even though in one of these slides it says if you're achieving 100 gigabits per second, no, we have 200 gigabits. So our summation for bandwidth right now over our DMZ is 200 gigabits per second. And researchers at the campus don't feel that they move data back and forth. We're building storage units out there right now. We're adding additional GPU clusters, and right now I'm just going to try to move everything out to Switch. Now, another benefit of Switch was also when we went from 16,000 cores to 26,000 cores through the award from Intel, there was a cost because it wasn't all Intel technology that we used. So to get from 16,000 to 26,000 was a price tag of $545,000. And it was rather ironic because I got a call from Rob who owns Switch. And he said, I just talked to the Intel people. They said, they had an offer on the table. I said, well, yeah, it's great, but it's going to take me 2 years, but it's $545,000. So Rob just told me on the phone, okay, I'll pay for it. So Switch actually kicked in another $545,000 and 26,000 cores up and running. We're talking to them now about upgrading to Mediterranean. We have multiple upgrades in here besides that. And so again, it was a situation where industry came in and helped us. Rob was specifically, he specifically wanted to be involved because he really liked the project that we were working on and helping with the neural problems. So in the Alzheimer's space, we are the primary numerical lab for the Lombardo Institute for Personalized Medicine. So that's a group of approximately 12 faculty. And if you count the postdocs and the docs and the graduate students, there's about 128 people who are working on that project. And we're tooling up big time. I'm learning a lot. I haven't actually worked in this space. I'm a computer scientist. I spent a lot of my time in atmospheric forecasting on the HPC side. That's Now, one of the things that we really needed, we really were struggling at the beginning, was management of our clusters. And my staff was very frustrated by it. We happened to introduce the Altair, and they jumped in. We're using the PBS Pro, and my staff just calmed down. Everything started to work. We were able to control another instance of working with industry to make something work for the researchers. And as you all know, once you get above a few thousand cores, and you really need to control them, and you need to be able to manage them the right way, especially if you're promising certain resources to certain groups. The Altair software was just incredible. But there's a number of quotes in this thing from my staffers that life just got really easy for them, and when they're not complaining, I'm happy. So it's really nice. And besides that, we are also having further conversations with Altair right now about other projects that we would like to work on, and other services that we would like to provide to the general public, which will be encapsulated in our HPC product services. Some of the other projects we're working on, although I don't have time, we actually have 4 groups that Intel called Intel Fellows. So they said, tell us all the projects that you're doing in HPC, and they went through them and did about 4 of them to be Intel Fellows. Now, another thing that Intel brought to us besides hardware and expertise was multiple training sessions. So they did come in training students, they came in training faculty. So it was really nice. So our 4 Intel Fellows, which I'll have contact information in just a second, these are the projects. One is quantum dynamics of chemical reactions. We're actually working on fracking, believe it or not, considering as cheap as oil is right now, but they still are. Fracking is actually a project that's in collaboration with the Los Alamos Lab. Magnetically dominated jets of gamma ray bursts against an astrophysicist. And again, a lot of this expertise and a lot of this is being supported by the Intel software suite. I'm sorry, the Altair PBS Works software suite. The final list here is if you actually want to contact our researchers, I'll leave this up for a few minutes and we'll answer any questions if there are any questions. Questions?
Yeah, if you didn't have a 3-year-old HPC center, would you transfer all of your computer resources to the switch facility?
I'm transferring everything. In fact, Paul brought it up yesterday. I'm transferring everything to production. So everything that has to run 100% of the time for all researchers. Now, we have a lot of other stuff too, but I'm still a firm believer, and Paul mentioned there was a question yesterday, what about the students? If I do everything out there, but I want to see it, they're not allowed to know. It's extremely, extremely difficult to do on space that have man traps, that have cameras, that have guns, which is okay, it makes me at least people feel really good about stuff. But the bottom line was, anything that I believe at the campus would be something that we don't care if it goes down once in a while. And as you know, students get busy on projects, students get busy with midterms, students get busy with finals. They'll take stuff apart when they're a mess, can't do that at school. And if they have to just drop everything to go study for a week to pass a test or to do whatever they need to, not a problem. We can accommodate it. So we will always have something at the university. It's just not the production. And like I said, I would be able to identify true costs. We've been out there for over 8 months now. So I think in the fall IBC meeting, we'll have better numbers about what this would actually cost to co-locate and switch. And unfortunately, or fortunately, however you look at it, the numbers I will have are full price. Now, I've been told by switch people, this is kind of a donation of this, so they're getting their tax benefit out of this by charging them and zeroing it out the highest amounts. But at the end of the day, I think probably what we will do is that the switch is very university friendly, very big. We will probably get a 70% discount. So I have a feeling that when our VP for finance is looking at this really closely, because he is now having our Office of Information Technology, the normal day-to-day compute center, So it's not just HPC, but right now it makes sense for HPC because we have the power and the learning. And the other nice thing, my president likes, every before the switch starts at Cherry Creek, they talk about our research, we give them goals to talk about, and right back up and switch again. So it's really good to do it for these.
Well, I know Cleveland Clinic has a very big footprint in Las Vegas, but how did the connection happen? But in particular with this Institute for Personalized Medicine.
What happened is there was a gentleman named Jim Rogers, very wealthy. Well, in fact, it is the law school here is a different, it's like UNLV. But Jim actually put in a whole bunch of money to start a Center for Neurodegenerative Diseases because he's now since passed. But as they built all this over public donations, there was a wish to turn it into a working hospital. At one point, it was just going to be an arm of the medical school. The medical school dean said, no, I'm not interested because we're not equipped for it. So anyway, Cleveland moved in. A number of big ones came in to look at it. I think Cleveland looked at the business plan for neurodegenerative diseases and what's happening to the aging community and said, whoa, this, I mean, I hate to put it this way, but there's money to be made here, right? So, yes. So and that's what I tell everybody. It's self-preservation for me. So, so the bottom line is, when Cleveland came in, they had a couple of hard stops, and they fought because they were bringing people in from Ohio, but they were really cardiac cancer. So they actually brought in a gentleman named Dr. Jeff Cummings, who was the director of neurology at UCLA for 12 years. And he's put together an unbelievable team there. And we went after the large NIH grant immediately. And we were really happy that the 11.5 million came in. We just got reviewed for our first year efforts, and they were all excellent. And so we think this is a 5-year project we're on, program we're on. So in the meantime, we had 2 big groups, well, more than that. We had consultants come out to UNLV. The school really wanted a medical school, so they got MD Anderson, they got Cleveland Clinic proper, they got some others, paid a fortune to say, should we start a medical school or not? What I've heard is that Las Vegas is the largest city in the US without a medical school. And all of them came back and said, perfect. And the thing they really liked about it was there was an HPC center there, and they said that's where medicine is going, so you have the one thing you need. So that's how that got started, and one thing led to another, and now it's a very busy hospital. It's taken Jeff less than 2 years. They're already talking about expanding it to, there's land behind that was donated to him, so it's very sad business, but it's worthwhile. It's interesting that it's really has turned into an HPC effort, so especially on the genomic side. So when the big groups came in to talk about the medical school, they said the first thing you should do is start medical research now before the school's open. Get the research arm going sooner, not later. And that's when they decided to go out. The governor's office actually funded the Nevada Institute for Personalized Medicine. And then they brought in a gentleman, and his name's up there, Marty Schiller, and Marty's from Johns Hopkins, and he's put together just a world-class group of people that.
I know the genomic stuff entered clinical practice yet, or is it still research?
It's part of the clinical trial now, so it's a genotyping right now is what they're doing. And it still comes back. We've bought the 4 sequencers. I was just talking to Jack Collins last night about all kinds of things revolving around this because it's his world. And so I'm learning a lot. And I think, like I said, I think it's going to be a lot of really great work for anybody interested in HPC. And if anybody in here knows an HPC application specialist, send them to me. We're hiring. How's that for a plug?